pull pull the mic down. I gotta remember to do that. Even I forget to do that so often. Today was day 20 treatment day 24. Um, it was another day as it has been for the past 4 weeks. 4 weeks, 3 days. A day where I got 10 million electron volt photons applied from about here around to the back and then reversed and then done again. About 200 centigrays a second, for a total of about 100 seconds. It works out to 2 grays. And it, about 2 degrees. So each degree gets about 100 centigrade each pass, or 300 total, which is not a huge amount. Granted, each day that little sector gets about what a nuclear worker is allowed to get in a year. Thank goodness I don't work in that industry in any way, shape, or form, whether in research or whatnot. But, day mostly like every other day. I've got a bit of special video to share because being Thursday, it's my normal day to get together with the doctor who checks up on me, sees how I'm doing, and goes through all the weekly things of, checking to see how the skin's doing, seeing how I'm doing otherwise, etc., etc., etc. Kind of like a quick check for your physical. Except for me, it goes every day or every week. But today, being the appointment before my final week, there were some special things. We talked about what's going to go on next week, and it included some setup. So, like I said, up until now, it's been photons. Think gamma rays, think X-rays. Reality is, they're pretty much considered the same thing. And unlike earlier, when they used to say, okay, the X-rays were these wavelengths and the gamma rays were these wavelengths, they've more differentiated them in how they're produced. X-rays are production sources other than the nuclei of atoms. And, reality is it tends to correspond with those wavelengths, just because you're dealing, it's the difference between dealing with a chemical explosive versus a nuclear explosion. Nuclear explosions can release a lot more energy than chemical for a given volume. But X-rays are things like taking high-speed electrons, and this is where it gets important on this week. X-rays, traditionally, you have an electron beam, kind of like in a fluorescent light. But you talk higher voltages in fluorescent lights, and you end up with one of the plates set like this. The electrons come in, they hit the atoms, they knock loose other electrons. And in that energy exchange, there is a photon emitted, and it has, because of conservation of energy and such, it comes out at a perpendicular angle. And those photons have the energy, it basically converts an electron into a photon, and out it comes as an X-ray. Next week, I start a different treatment where rather than hitting a metal target and having an X-ray come out, it's going to be having the electron beam come and go through a deflection mechanism of some sort. I don't know if it's going to be an electromagnetic deflection area, like in a TV set, or if it's going to be a material that will reflect the electrons without allowing the production of the photons, the conversion over to the photons. Something that exhibits differently under the photoelectric effect. But they're going to be hitting me with photons or electrons instead of photons. And that's a different procedure. But I'm going to try to edit the video. The first 6 minutes, roughly, I've got the camera side. I recorded it on my phone, and I recorded it this way, and then I went to recording this way. So I'm in the process of editing things and putting it together. But I'll hopefully be able to figure out how to turn that first 6 minutes. If not, my apologies. But next week starts a different routine, and today was the setup. So another milestone. Woohoo. Physically, this past week, I went from Monday. Teresa mentioned it was still looking really bad, and so I went from using aloe to using Vaseline. And today she said it, when I was there with Dr. Reed, who I also got the joke with about not looking quite as pretty this week. And it took him a second to get that. I've got to edit and post that video, but yeah, the comment was that it's looking a whole lot better now that I'm using this. She had talked about just using it at night, and I've been using it several times during the day on top of things. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up and get to trying to break and split the other thing up. On the whole, tired. My sense of taste is screwed up. I'll mention that in the video as well. But yeah, I got home and I laid down and I slept from, I think it was about 4:30, 5 o'clock until I think it was about 8:30. So, and that's having slept much longer this morning than my norm too. So I'm gonna wrap up this intro part and work on editing the other stuff. And hopefully somebody out, please let me know that you watch this. If it helps you out, whatnot. I'd really like to hear that these videos helped at least one person deal with cancer or deal with the anxiety about health issues like this. It's tough, but know that you're not alone. Other people have these issues too, and you know it's not wrong to feel afraid, even if you do have, you know, even if you're sitting there and they're telling you, yeah, your 10-year survival rate's really high, and no expected impact, etc., etc. Even when they tell you that, those brain ferrets, they come in train car loads, and there are days when those train cars are delivered in 500 car consists being what they call the series of cars. Sometimes it's a 500 car consist of nothing but brain ferrets, and each one gets dumped on your head, and you feel like Captain Kirk in the original Star Trek Trouble with Triples episode, and you just want to say, would somebody please close that door? But there's nobody around, and you're not talking a bunch of tribbles, you're talking ferrets. So, yeah, you're not alone. Talk about it with your friends, talk about it with your family. Talk. Don't feel afraid to talk about it, even with, finding a mental health professional. Talk to people who have gone through it before. It's tough, but, you know, so many of us survive, even the brain ferrets. So, and honestly, right now, that's the hardest part for me right now. It's not the cancer treatments, it's the brain ferrets. And all I have to do is find the ferret repellent, which unfortunately is down around my ankles in this pile of ferrets. So if you can have a friend there to help you scatter the ferrets to reach the ferret repellent. But yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up and edit it. It's already after midnight and I need to get to sleep, even given how much I've slept today, which is, out of curiosity, crap, it converted to the next day, of course. Let's see. Deficit of 3.1 hours. That means I slept over 12 hours yesterday. Yesterday now being Thursday. And I think, glancing at things, that's probably a little low. But, oh yeah, because I forgot to turn it on when I went to bed last night. So I've got nothing until 3:30 recorded time-wise. So that 12 is probably closer to 15. But yeah, hopefully there's at least one person out there that'll see this and go, oh, neat, and be able to understand things and have at least one less ferret coming down on their head. So take care of yourselves, and above all, don't forget to tell those that you love that you do love them, because you don't know what lies ahead in the next 12 hours in terms of what's going to happen. So, forget the cancer. It could be car wrecks. It could be so many things. So tell the folks you love that you love them. But take care, and when it gets time for you to sleep, sleep well. Okay. Really moving me out. Sorry. Putting the assembly back in.
Okay.
So, 101 in the mass, 100 in the book. Okay, Mr. Needham. So Dr. Reed's in here. He's just going to take a quick look.
Okay.
Something like that. No, we don't want to. I'll be.
All right, that's it.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Got the hair or
It was catching my earlobe.
earlobe. Okay. I could feel it catching something.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get that cushion. All right, that's it.
Bolus is still on.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, thank you.
Was that-
So on Monday, we'll just come and set this up, treat this, and the last file will go a lot easier. So that'll just be that one small area getting additional electron treatment. So
Okay, was that cut from the piece of glass that you guys marked, that was marked up that first day?
Yeah, correct.
So,
So that kind of corresponds to that mark on your mask, right? And that's
Yeah.
supposed to be where your ear is.
huh.
Move the table up for you, son.
No, you're fine.
I don't
You're
want
fine.
you to hit your knee or anything.
You're fine. It, just thinking about the manufacturing process of that metal mask, them being able to do something like that, and it was probably done like CNC machine or something like that.
We actually pour those ourselves.
You bore them yourselves?
Yeah.
How?
It's cerebin that's melted down.
Okay.
And they have all the equipment, just the outlines, the frames, and then you just put the board in there to stop it, and then you pour it around the edges.
Ah.
So, yep, it's pretty cool.
So it's a low temperature metal
Yep.
then.
That's it.
You too. Interesting. Hey, hon. Okay. So, we doing the follow-up with me going in to see him and such?
Yeah, actually, I'm printing out your summary. I'm going to get your weight. So come on over here.
Yep, wait for you to have it tear. Wait.
Did you put a little Vaseline on it? Looks
I've-
a little more moisturized.
I've been putting Vaseline on instead.
Yeah, it looks better actually.
Okay, let's see. 286.6, down 2.2 pounds from the last, if I remember correctly.
Getting skinny.
I wish.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's
and
just hard. Come on in.
yep.
You're not looking for him.
And I get to tease him that he doesn't look quite as nice as he did last week.
No, he looks a little angry. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I used to like Rachel. I love her. She's Nanny. They try to pull something over on me. Okay. Okay. Back to them.
So, yeah, here we sit.
Be prepared.
Yeah. Thursday.
There. 6 more.
6 more.
Here he is.
All right.
Hey.
Take a look here. Oh, it's kind of angry.
Yeah, and is it bruised up around the lymph node? Or,
I think that's just swelling when they did this.
yeah, because I was trying to catch a picture of it yesterday in the video, and I'm going, darn, that looks like it's
It's
swollen or miscollared or something. And
Now these last treatments are only going to go about that deep and stop. And we just treat right around this area.
yeah, electrons,
Yes.
same energy level,
9 MeV electrons.
9 MeV electrons.
Yeah. So it won't go very deep. We'll put a centimeter of rubber over everything to kind of degrade the depth so that it's just kind of superficial radiation.
Yeah, and I take it that's probably what, actually, the electrons, rather than being converted in the head of the true beam, would be just coming out straight, I figured.
You have a job here.
Yeah. And you can get some skin cream with lidocaine if this is tender and burning.
Well, I can't unfortunately get the one
That's
spot.
what he does. He doesn't complain about this.
It's
It's inside his ear.
Yeah, it's all around, but I can't,
I know.
don't put anything down in there, and it's just, And I'm putting on Vaseline now. It's just, and it's like putting on face paint, in the military.
Yeah, but it looks better because it wasn't getting moisturized with the aloe.
Yeah, well, you told me on Monday to put it on, and Monday night I put it on, and I went to put more on, and the dry skin was just rubbing off like a paste.
Yeah. It's
All
like
right.
kind of getting
Yeah.
Get shoelaces.
Of course, you should know by now. But by the way, you don't look quite as nice this week as you did last week.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I fell and hit a rock. I was collecting boulders out in the woods. I built stone walls up at this cabin I had. I fell, face planted.
Well, I was referring to when I saw you last week. Not the week before, but last week. You looked better. Have a good one. You take care, Stephanie.
You too, my dear.
Take care.
Oh, thought I lost you.
Now, did you get a report? No. No, was I supposed to get a report? I don't know. I got time to read it. Me, Teresa?
So, next week is indeed going to be the final week. At least for this round. It's worth going clear over here. Knock on real wood. But this round will hopefully be the last round. But yeah, radio warning. I'm gonna turn on the Go ahead and set this in. So, today's treatment itself was same as, here we are. We are week 5, so 4 weeks plus 4. Which means it's treatment 24 of 30. Today's treatment, just like the prior 22. The first one was a little bit different, but the treatment, and it's actually been a lot closer to the today was much the same as even the first one compared to what I'm going to be doing. Today was the appointment day, as talking with Dr. Reed there a few minutes ago. And I'm sorry. I'll try to remember to edit this and rotate. But yeah, after the treatment today, while I was still there, hooked up, there at the beginning of this particular segment on my phone, the radiological oncologist came in after they set some things up, and they did the prep work for the treatments, which actually start on Monday, which is a slight variation. The treatments up until now have been photons, specifically hard X-rays / gamma rays. The differentiation between the two is, you differentiate between the two based on the source. And, gamma rays tend to come out of the things going on in the nucleus of the atom. And X-rays come out of bombardment type processes. But the whole deal, the spectrum, sometimes they break it down, you hit a certain energy level, and you consider anything one side of that energy level to be hard X-rays and transition to gamma rays because of the way the energies tend to work on how, G comes out of the nucleus, it's this certain energy level, comes from a bombardment, it's this one, this range. But rather than having electrons fly through the machine, hit a target someplace in there, and produce the photons, which is what X-rays and gamma rays are, they're going to be treating me with actual electrons, direct electrons. And penetration's going to be about 1 to 2 centimeters deep. Whole lot different than from what I've been dealing with, because they're actually, the beam of photons starts coming in about here at this angle, and it rotates until it's pretty much straight forward back right along this side of my face, which is why I've got the radiation burn clear through there. And then they move back here, and by the time it's back here beside my head, it's coming in, and there are still X-rays or gamma rays coming out this side. They're far more energetic than a CT scan does. So, but CT scan is, I think, 1,000th the power. I'm getting 200 centigrays a second, and total dose for a head CT scan, I think, is like 5 milligrays. So, much higher dosages. Energy levels are totally different. And even, a CT scan, the energy levels there are sufficient to go through your head. So, it's kind of like, 22 rifle versus the 18-inch guns of the Missouri, of Big Mo. Difference in terms of everything. But, they still go through the electrons, though, which, you look at it, electrons are equivalent to beta rays. And beta rays don't have near the penetrating power of gamma rays or X-rays. So, the depth is going to be, like I said, about 1 to 2 centimeters. Roughly half an inch to an inch. And then, just for comparison, alpha rays. I think it was polonium, which the one Russian dissident was assassinated with. Timochenko, I think it was. Certain compounds emit alpha. You had these little bits spitting off of the nucleus. And, imagine a big ball of red and black, big wad of red and black balls. And to get into a more stable configuration, it spits out little wads of 2 black balls, 2 red balls. Literally the nuclei of helium is what's coming out. That's an alpha ray. About a layer or two of paper. These paper towels would stop almost all of them. But because they're so big and heavy, if you ingest an alpha source like polonium, and the amount involved for that one Russian dissident was minuscule, micrograms. Take a grain of rice and cut it in half, and take half and cut it in half a couple times. Amount, and it was lethal because it was sitting there in his GI tract and everything, and just but yeah, with me, they're shifting to the beta radiation, aka electrons. They're shifting to that on Monday, and they've got this neat little metal deal that goes in, and they're targeting very specific spots, and that was the extra setup today. How am I doing? Last night's video, I showed where the hair loss is. Emotionally, I've got a post halfway done. sitting on the phone for me to finish up. There's a movie that Here and Now on NPR was doing an interview with Liam Neeson and an actress whose name I can't remember, playing a couple who are dealing with breast cancer. And, you know, a chunk of me really an emotional load. But even before then, you know, emotionally, I'm surviving. The fact that Jennifer Lewis, a friend of mine who's run for office both at the state level and at the, she ran for state legislature, and before that she had run for U.S. House for our district. Would have been far better than either of our two folks. She invited me to a group gathering of progressives, and it was nice to be out of the house, but also physically tiring. But yeah, so, you know, I'm doing, and it doesn't help that, you know, today is Jax's birthday, and, you know, she's got shit going on in her life, and apparently an uncle is not doing it. You know, she mentioned last night an uncle's not doing in good health, and this is where something that Liam said on the interview. You know, the guys try to take, you know, we try to take on this role of fixer where those we love are involved. You know, we do it with our wives, we do it with our children, we do it with our best friends who, you know, we wish that we could have ended up with someone like them in our life as wife and partner. And, you know, I wish that I've got a number of friends that I wish that I could fix things for them. You know, no money issues, no health issues, no fill in the blank. You know, nothing but happiness. But, yeah, and when we can't do it, it drives us nuts. But I'm gonna end this, get home. I might pick up something to eat on the way home. My taste buds have been really screwed up. And do a little bit of work, maybe get lucky and talk with Jax a little bit more. You know, sleep-wise, I slept through several rounds of alarms. So, but I'm gonna end this part now, and I'll do either as a separate segment or something like that, another one, because I got a soapbox I want to get onto as well. So for now, take care, and hopefully this will help at least one person out there, because
I, if I help one person, it's been a good day. So later, folks. So that went. It seems easier than I had expected. Windows 10 Photos, I literally said, go up to this point, split, and then I said on this video, rotate it. So we'll see how it turns out. In addition to trying to get last week's update posted out there, there's another video I mentioned, and I'm trying to think of the right term, but for lack of the term, let's just call it a soapbox event. It's basically gonna be me talking about details and dealing with the insurance. So I'm gonna try to record that one tomorrow night or Saturday and get it up, because it has definitely been a real, let's just say, I'm glad I've got good insurance, and I'm still not happy with it. So, but I've got to do dental trays yet. I have to constantly remind myself to do them. And I'll probably do a short short, yeah, 45 minutes plus. I'll probably do a video on that as well. The mental aspects of that sort of thing. And also talk about pod about a program I heard up on NPR today. I'll mention it briefly. Here and Now had a article talking about the film Ordinary Love with Liam Nielsen and I'm forgetting her name. Leslie Manville. It's a movie written by a playwright who wrote a screenplay, and using the experience of him and his wife going through her breast cancer as the basis of the screenplay. And it hearing it had a lot of emotional hit. And I don't know if I'll be able to go out and see the movie because of it, but yeah, WBUR.org/here and now, and it was today's program. So go out and find it. I'll probably add a link to it here as well. But time to wrap it up and head to bed, because I gotta let all the cells that have gone through all this crap the past almost 5 weeks. Tomorrow's the end of week 5. 25 days, 50 grays. And so we'll see how things are different next week. But yeah, the treatments, even though in the video that I've got in this one, it doesn't seem like it. I get home and, it's just, it hits you because the exhaustion, you're fighting it constantly while you're out until you get home, and then you get home and it's just, thank God I'm home. And, even having picked up, the, picked up food, you know, between the taste and the fatigue, I almost didn't eat. So, and, but, okay. And, and I'm going to wrap this up. In picking up the food, I saw a traffic light post, which I got to share with you. It was rocking and rolling. I'm not entirely sure. It didn't seem that windy out or anything, but boy, was it moving. So, engineering for you. You induce flexibility because if you don't, it's too stiff and brittle and breaks. And, that's why when you're sitting there in the parking garage and a car goes behind you, the car goes, whoa. You're sitting in your own car and you go, whoa. And why when you're 10 floors up in a building and it's windy outside, you're sitting there and you're going like this. Or, when you're there in Pittsburgh and there's an earthquake down about midway between Richmond and Charlottesville, a few minutes later, you're up in Pittsburgh and the building goes from to yeah. And when you think about it, that's what's going on with all the little atoms up in here. So enjoy the harmonic motion. So sleep well, folks. Sweet dreams if you can't. Sleep well if you can. Sweet dreams if you are able to do that as well. And tell folks that you do love them, because you never know when you're not going to have another chance, either for you or for the person you love, because you never know what's out there in the next half hour or 6 hours. But take care. Look at that highway sign bounce. Okay, we can go.